Welcome back. In this video, we're going to show you how to launch a Flying Scot. It's easy to get this boat in the water. Whether you're launching from a ramp or launching from a hoist, you can do it in about 10 minutes. If you use a tow vehicle to launch your boat, we like to connect our vehicle to the trailer before we start unpacking our boat. Richard here is set up on the side so that he can make eye contact with the driver through the side mirror. He's giving hand signals and he's not shouting. Today, cars and trucks have beepers and sensors that are going off, which make it hard to hear. We don't want miscommunication, we don't want accidents, we don't want injuries, so doing these little simple things go a long way. Connecting the trailer to the hitch is pretty straightforward. Richard's going to adjust the wheel jack so that he lowers the trailer coupler down onto the ball on the vehicle. You might be brand new to this, so just remember a few things here. Don't forget to adjust the wheel jack so that the wheel doesn't drag while you're transporting the boat. You see the lever pointing straight up here. It should be easy to latch the trailer to the ball on the vehicle. If it's jammed, move the card forward just a little bit, and that'll usually correct your problem. You'll notice Richard's going to lift up on the trailer. What he's doing is he's double checking to make sure that the coupler is secured to the ball on the vehicle. We want to insert the safety pin so the coupler does not become unlatched. And finally, we're going to attach the safety chains to the vehicle. If we do all these things, the trailer is much less likely to become detached from the hitch or from the vehicle. These may seem like little details, but we've seen what happens when these details are overlooked. Here we see Chris Tesdell, an instructor at the Clinton Lake Sailing Association, showing first-time sailors in an introductory sailing lesson how to properly connect the trailer to the vehicle and how to do it right. We like to connect the trailer to the vehicle first. If that's an option for you, it's nice because it provides more stability on the boat when you're doing all of the next steps. Now, Chris is going to demonstrate how to remove the mooring cover. You may just have a cockpit cover on your boat, and that's okay. But if you're going to keep your boat stored outside for long periods of time, I do recommend a mooring cover like this. If you must disconnect the winch hook from the bow eye in order to remove your mooring cover, always take a couple extra seconds and reconnect that hook, tighten the winch, and lock it. If you forget, your boat can slide off the trailer during transport or at the ramp, and that is not a good thing. Chris will unzip the mooring cover and fold it over to the other side of the boat, and Rick Woyner is going to help him here. The cover is secured to the mast just above the boom. Chris is going to have to get up on the ladder in order to get that, and Chris is really big on safety, and I like how he explains some ladder safety here to the students.
Whenever you do climb on the boat, the shroud is a really good place to hold on to. Shroud, mast, boom. So just try and stay in contact. 3 points of contact. 1, 2, 3. Grab the mast.
We have witnessed a few people slip and fall, so I like the safety reminder there. Chris is going to untie the cover here and finish up. In our program, we encourage people to do things the same way because we mix things up from week to week. We have new people sailing with different people on different boats every week. So if we're doing things the same way, it really makes things run a lot smoother. We like to roll the cover from the bow to the stern and then place the cover on the ground on the side that the cover came off of. This is a neat little trick because when you're done sailing, all you have to do is pick up your cover and put it on the same side and roll it from the stern to the bow. Also, there's times where you're putting the boat away at night. Also, there's times where people are jumping in to help. So if everyone's on the same program and doing it the same way, it really makes things run a lot smoother. The cover is off. Now the plug goes in and we can find the plug on the rear starboard side seat so long as the last person put it there, and that's what we ask everybody to do. We remove the plug between uses so that rainwater can drain out of the boat. And we put the plug in before we put the boat in the water so that water does not come inside the boat. You want to make sure the plug is nice and secure so that water doesn't leak in. If it's a little loose and you need to make an adjustment, you can turn the lever to the right and that will thicken the plug up and make it tighter. If you're having trouble getting the plug in, you can also twist the lever to the left and that'll loosen things up. Next, we're going to tighten the bungees on the rudder and we're going to position our body behind the rudder to protect sensitive areas of our body from snapping injuries. Not all rudders have bungee cords like this. The bungee cord is part of a rudder lift kit that we have on all of our boats. This protects our rudder from shallow water and also makes it so that we don't have to take our rudder on and off every time we want to take our boat in and out. Next on our checklist, we're going to connect the jib to our forestay. The next step is important because new sailors often overlook this and forget. We want to connect the jib to the shackle, but we want to first run the shackle through the forestay before connecting it to the jib. Chris is holding the shackle in his fingertips there. It's the metal U-shaped piece. It also has a locking pin attached to it. Chris is taking a couple extra minutes here to point out the importance of that, because if you forget to do this part, you have to fix it on the water. It's a lot easier if you can remember to do it on shore than it is to fix it on the water. Here's what it looks like up close. If it's your first time and you're not sure if you did it right, just ask a friend. Next, Chris is going to attach the jib to the forestay using the snaps on the front of the sail. As he does that, he's going to flake the sail as he attaches the sail. What that does is that's going to prevent creases, and he's going to prevent the sail from crinkling, and that goes a long way to extending the life and longevity of the sail. Chris is going to finish up, and he's going to grab the jib halyard since it's right there on the bow eye. Now, our strategy is that we want to do as much as we can on shore and do as little as we can on the dock in order to get launched. That is why we store the jib halyard on the bow eye when the boat is not in use. That way, when we're getting the boat set up and attaching the jib to the forestay, the jib halyard is right there. We also want to avoid surprises at the dock that are going to delay our launch, so Chris is going to take a few extra moments to ensure that our jib halyard is not tangled with the forestay. After we complete that check, we'll attach the shackle to the head of the sail. Now all we have to do on the dock is raise the sail instead of having to do that part of the process. Also, we want to secure the sail, especially on windy days, so we'll put a sail tie around the sail and we'll tighten up the jib sheet so that the sail doesn't fall off during transport or fall into the water while it's sitting at the dock. Next on the checklist, we're going to pre-feed the main into the mast with the mast flotation attached. The mainsail is the big sail that's neatly rolled up and attached to the boom. Chris is going to untie the sail ties, and he's going to very carefully unravel the sail as we get it ready. And just like the jib, we want to take some care into not crumpling it up and not putting big creases in the sail. So he's going to take just a little extra time and be a little careful. Again, that really helps with the longevity of the sail. Chris finally gets to the head of the sail. Now he's going to grab the mast flotation. The mast flotation is required for our introductory lessons, and it's required for our development sailing on Wednesday on borrowed boats, and it's highly recommended. It's not required for everybody, but certainly is recommended for newer sailors and newer training programs, because that mast flotation right there, he's demonstrating how it actually slides up the mast. That mast flotation device works as a life jacket and prevents the mast from sinking into the water and prevents the boat from turtling. Now we want to attach the main halyard and start feeding that sail and the masthead flotation up the slot of the main. The main halyard is tightly secured to the ring on the front of the mast. Chris will loosen up the main halyard and give us some slack to work with. He'll do that by taking the winch handle. He's demonstrating the winch handle here, and he's going to insert the winch handle into the lower winch roller. A short turn forward will unlock the locking mechanism on the bottom of the roller. Take your winch handle out. Do not wind it backwards. Never leave the winch handle in the winch box, and never wind the winch handle backwards. Always remove the winch handle, and if you need to lower your sail or do anything, lower it manually, and make sure that you secure the winch handle in your pocket or another secure location so that you never lose it off the boat. Chris has gone ahead and he's removed the main halyard from that front ring on the mast, and just like he did with the jib halyard, he's looking up and taking a few moments to make sure that the main halyard is not tangled with a side shroud or anything else up there. And believe me, it is worth taking the couple extra moments instead of having to deal with the big problem while you're on the dock. We've already inserted the head of the mainsail into the mast flotation. Now we'll attach the halyard to the head of the sail and the flotation. Before raising the mainsail, take a couple extra moments to pull out the halyard all the way and completely unwind that spool on the winch box. You saw Chris demonstrate with hand gestures the hornet's nest effect. It's very common with these winch box setups for the halyard to unspool. It can happen over time, and it can definitely happen if the boat wasn't put away correctly. Taking those few extra moments again really goes a long way to ensuring a smooth sailing experience and preventing surprises and problems once you're out on the water. Now Chris is going to wind the spool tightly, or at least get it started. He's putting downward pressure on the halyard, and he's winding the spool up so that the halyard will wind nice and tightly on that bottom spool. The front edge of the mainsail has a bolt rope. What Chris is doing here is feeding the edge of that bolt rope and the mast flotation together into that slot on the mast. With his left hand, he's going to help guide the masthead flotation in the sail into the slot, and with his right hand, he's going to wind on the winch handle and raise the halyard. It will help the process go smoother if you take the time and pull the sail forward so that that bolt rope is lined up with the front of the mast flotation all the way up and down that mast flotation. This is the most difficult part of the rigging process. Don't worry, it's going to take a few times to get the hang of this. We do these things on shore and not on the dock. That way we're not holding up the dock and people aren't waiting for us. We want to pre-feed the main so that the entire masthead flotation is in the slot. We don't want to raise it any higher than that. That's what Chris does here. With his finger, he locks the locking mechanism at the bottom of the spool, and that way the sail will not slip back down. Next, we're going to secure the sail with a couple sail ties. If you don't have sail ties, you can also use your main sheet. When securing the sail, we don't want to tie it up so tightly so that it puts creases in the sail. One trick that Chris shows here is tying two sail ties together. That's going to give him one longer sail tie. Again, if you don't have sail ties, you can use your main sheet. There's really no right or wrong way to do this, so long as you don't tie it up too tightly and so long as you tie it up tight enough so that the wind will not blow the sail out of the boat, you're going to be in good shape. Be sure to secure it with a slip knot so that the knot is very easy to get off when you're on the dock. And with that, we're ready to put the boat in the water. Our jib is secure and ready to raise. Our main is secure and it's ready to raise. We got our plug in, we got our bungee cords attached. Everything's good to go. Before you back the boat in, make sure your winch is secure so that the boat does not slide off of the trailer during transport or on the ramp. The goal here as we back down is to back down far enough so that we can get the boat into the water, but also not far enough so that the boat does not float. If it floats and the wind pushes the boat can come off of the trailer and the bottom of the boat can get scratched on that trailer. So take your time here, and you'll notice Chris, he's backing it into just where the stern of the boat is just barely touching the water or just above the water, and that looks perfect. Chris will now detach the winch hook from the bow eye. He'll unlock the winch. He'll secure the boat with one hand and undo the winch hook with the other. That way the boat will not slip off, and he's in complete control of the boat. Chris is in total control. He has a helper holding the bow line on the dock, and all he has to do is give it a little push, and look how easy the boat comes off. Make sure the boat does not bang on the dock, and control the boat by holding the forestay and holding onto the side shroud. The dock in this video uses cleats, so Richard is going to secure the boat to the dock with a proper cleat hitch. If you don't know how to tie a proper cleat hitch, that's okay. Ask somebody for help or do the best you can, and in your spare time when people aren't watching, practice, watch our videos, and learn the few essential knots that you need to know for rigging the Flying Scot. If you're going to be parked at the dock for a while, it's nice, it's a courtesy to keep your lines tidy and avoid trip hazards. So Chris demonstrates a simple Flemish coil here. Chris steps onto the center of the boat where it's most stable with 3 good points of contact. If you're not the first person to board, always ask permission or at least give the other people a heads up that you're about to board. If you're sailing a different type of sailboat, keep in mind it may not be as stable as the Flying Scot, so be careful as you board and ask the experienced sailors around you what the best way to board that particular boat is. Before we rush to raise the sails, we're going to do a couple of things inside the boat. They're going to make things go a lot smoother. We're going to lower the centerboard halfway. We're going to lower the centerboard halfway in this location because we're sailing in shallow water in that cove. If it's deeper water where you sail, you can lower it all the way. Lowering the centerboard and lowering the rudder, which we're going to show you next, are things we have to do anyway, but it's also a nice bonus because it helps keep the boat stable when people are getting on and off the boat. We want the process of raising the mainsail to go smooth, so while Chris is down there getting ready to lower the centerboard, he's also going to uncleat the boom vang and uncleat the main sheet. Here's a close-up of Chris lowering the centerboard. He'll uncleat the cleat, and we'll watch the centerboard lower. He'll do it nice and smooth. Don't just drop the line and let it get all tangled up. You can see the wheel coming down. If you're going to lower the centerboard halfway, you want that wheel to be approximately right on top of that circle. Otherwise, if you're going to lower the centerboard all the way, just let it go down all the way. While we're thinking about it, we'll also uncleat our jib sheets on both sides. Here Chris is uncleating the port. Now he's going to uncleat the starboard side of the jib sheet. He's also going to let out a little slack. This is going to go a long way in helping make sure that the jib raising process goes smooth. Finally, Chris is going to pull out some slack at the main sheet block. Doing all these things goes a long way in making sure that the process of raising your mainsail and raising your jib goes smooth. If your sheets are stuck in your blocks, you're going to have to stop what you're doing, go back down and uncleat them in the middle of the process, which isn't smooth. Also, if the sheet gets snagged on something, it's going to get caught in the wind and your boat's going to go crashing into the dock, so we don't want that either. So again, doing these little things goes a long way. Now all we have to do is raise our sails and go sailing. We showed you how to use the winch handle and the winch box when we inserted the mast flotation into the slot on the mast. As we raise the rest of the mainsail, we want to guide the bolt rope into that slot on the mast. Chris will do so by guiding it with his left hand and cranking on the winch handle with his right hand. If everything is going smooth, that means that the sail is very easy to raise and there's very little resistance. If you feel resistance, stop what you're doing because that means something's wrong. The halyards might be wrapped or tangled. The bolt rope may not have gone into the slot smoothly. You may have forgotten to uncleat your cleats or to uncleat the vang or something along those lines. So just stop what you're doing and don't force the issue. The aluminum winch handles we use on the Flying Scot are designed to break. They're designed to break on purpose because we don't want to break the winch box. So here Chris is forcing the issue and will snap the winch handle. We see a lot of newer sailors break winch handles. Don't forget to press in on the winch handle when you crank. If you start to get resistance and the winch handle starts to slip out, that thing's going to snap a lot easier. Also, never unwind the winch handle. Never wind it backwards unless you have upward pressure on the halyard. If you don't follow our advice and you try and lower the sail by unwinding the winch handle, this is what can happen. If you look closely, you can see the spool starting to unwind, and that can lead to some really ugly hornet's nests and some really bad tangles, which can result in not being able to get your sail down. We showed you those examples of what not to do, but we have a nice checklist. Just follow the checklist and things will go a lot smoother. Look up and make sure that your sail is raised all the way and then lower it just a couple or maybe a few notches. You can fine-tune your halyard tension once you're out on the water if you so choose. We've said it several times, but we want our spools to be wound tight. Chris is putting upward tension on the halyard here before he raises the jib. That way when he does raise the jib, that spool will be nice and tight. We're going to take the same approach with the jib as we did with the main. If you feel resistance, stop what you're doing, correct any issues, and then raise the jib the rest of the way. If you have to, unlock the winch box and lower the main and do not unwind the winch handle backwards. If you look closely in this demonstration, Chris left the jib sheet cleated on the starboard side, and as a result the wind is starting to catch the jib and starting to move the boat around. On a windy day that could cause problems, so you'll see Chris reach forward here and uncleat the jib sheet. He went to the back of the boat and took out the boom crutch. There he goes, he uncleats the jib. Now the jib is going to luff and the boat will be free and won't be moved around so much by the wind. Let's rewind that back. We were talking about the jib sheet. We don't want to overlook the boom crutch. It's helpful to remove that boom crutch as soon as you get the main sail raised. That'll prevent the main sheet from catching on that boom crutch and again pulling that boat around. So the sooner you get the boom crutch stowed underneath, the better. And now we're ready to push off and go sailing. Thank you so much for watching this launching video. If you have any questions or comments, please do so in the comment section.